King of Black Supremacy. With this particular video, I want to debunk Nature Boy's presupposition on homosexuality. I have to deal with this. There's a problem with the logic that homosexuality is natural. There's a flaw in that logic. This is not to say that homosexuality does not exist in nature, but where that logic is leading could be very problematic. And let me explain that. First, everything that exists in nature is not natural for you. Bottom line. And that's to say that somehow homosexuality exists in nature in a sense that nature is untouched and unaffected or unimpacted by man, where you find homosexuality existing. And that's a deep question that has to be raised, because a lot of times when you're hunting and you're killing off all the male creatures, you can have, through evolution and through adaptation, let's just say adaptation, you can have some things that show up that look like homosexuality, because man has knocked nature out of balance, has fucked up the ecosystem and knocked it out of whack. So you have animals trying to compensate during mating seasons, doing things that appear to be homosexual, which is really a desperate mating attempt to reproduce, given that man didn't threw things off. He didn't hunted, killed off the males, or he's destroyed their natural habitat in some way through deforestation and other methods. So he just throws off the entire ecosystem. We can see that with dogs as being a domestic animal in the home. Dogs will hump on people's legs, hump on males' legs, hump on other males. This is out of desperate desire for mating. This is not truly a homosexual act. It doesn't arise out of the sexual desire or attraction to a male. It's purely a desperate mating attempt. So you find this in nature as well. You find animals in very desperate situations based on how man has fucked up nature and destroyed nature. What we call nature ain't even natural no more. Nature ain't even nature no more. We can look at that with the dramatic changes in our weather, global warming, hell, global freezing. Nature is out of whack as a whole. The depleted ozone layer. Nature is messed up. A lot of animals have become extinct due to man. Elephants and certain rhinoceros and certain creatures, they're extinct now because of what man has done. All the males damn near killed off. So you're going to find homosexuality. In other species, the females killed off. So what you're looking at in nature is not necessarily natural all the time. Secondly, what you're calling nature does not exist in isolation of man or out inside of a larger picture, a larger ecology. So nature is not isolated to say, you know what, this is nature. Nature is a part of everything. So wherever you see nature, you see the evolution of the entire planet as one entity. Nature is not isolated. The whole earth is nature. So the whole earth is affected by everything that happens on the entire earth, whether they're in natural parts that you consider natural or parts that you consider unnatural. And this is the second piece on that he highlighted some animals in Africa that supposedly participate in homosexuality, because he said he never saw these animals. This is Nature Boy. He never saw animals participate in homosexuality in the cities, as far as squirrels and pigeons. So he pointed to Africa, some documentary of some homosexuality going on in Africa. Well, if Africa is really where nature is at, where the real homosexuality is happening, then why would we be in Belize? Why would we be in Costa Rica? Why would we be in South America? Why don't we go where the real nature is at? In Africa. And that makes me ask, can the real nature please stand up where nature really is at? So if you don't see homosexuality, if you can't pull out your camera, your phone camera, as a scientist, and observe homosexuality right there in Belize, are you really in nature? Because if this is so natural, we should be seeing it wherever nature truly exists at. We shouldn't have to go all the way to Africa and see some documentary that some devil put together of some isolated event that he's seen. Second, you showed a clip of monkeys, and I didn't see all the clips, but you showed a clips of monkeys existing in homosexual acts. Monkeys imitate human beings. Human beings can affect the culture of monkeys. It's the old saying, monkey see, monkey do. And we know the white man went over there and slept with monkeys. They said that's usually how he created AIDS, by sleeping with the monkeys, because the white man is into bestiality. The devil's into bestiality, so he sleeps with monkeys and apes. This is a fact. So he went over there and slept with the monkeys. So he had got those monkeys into homosexuality, because monkeys can imitate and perpetuate human behavior. This is a well-known fact. So we don't know if those monkeys were really naturally participating in homosexuality, or were their behavioral pathologies and patterns impacted by how perverted Europeans invaded their culture like they did everybody else and interfaced with them. We don't know that. We're going off what this European is saying who's doing the documentary. But we know that these Europeans probably slept with these monkeys and caused these monkeys to participate in this type of behavior. And if you're saying that homosexuality is natural, those same animals in nature, some of them, specifically the dog and other animals, if they see you in nature, they will try to engage in sexual acts with human beings. Some of these animals. Is that natural? So are you condoning bestiality? Are you saying bestiality is natural, since some animals naturally will sleep with humans, that humans should naturally want to sleep with animals? And you also saw among the monkeys in the videos, not only did you see homosexuality, but you also saw homopedophilia among those monkeys. That the older monkeys and the grown monkeys were sleeping with the younger and male monkeys. Is that natural? Are you condoning that along with homosexuality? Are you saying homopedophilia is natural? These are some questions that have to be asked. So we know that these monkeys could be affected by human beings and sick Europeans that are into bestiality. So we can't just use the monkeys. It's not a good example. But I go as far to say, I'll go even further to say, that we know everything in nature is not natural for us. And you wouldn't argue that even if they were naturally doing that, everything in nature is not natural for humans. For example, you used the lions and you showed homosexuality among the lions. And you say, look, they're doing it, so I guess it's natural. But those same lions eat flesh. They're carnivorous. They eat flesh, raw flesh. But you know, because you're a vegan, that eating raw flesh, animal flesh, is not good for us. Because you are vegan and you push a vegetarian diet. So we're not going to eat meat because the lion eats raw meat. but we're going to engage in homosexuality as something natural because the lion in that video was participating in homosexual acts. Some of the images, we didn't see any true sexual penetration. We just saw mounting. So we don't know if they was, like I said, I just felt like these animals are in desperate for breeding and hunting, and different ecological situations have thrown off their mating rituals, and they're just in a desperate place. And they're in heat. So this behavior is not based on sexual attraction of people of the same sex, but just a type of hyperactivity based on being in heat and the desire to breed. So it's still connected to breeding. That's my theory. And some of them have adapted through male shortages and female shortages due to an ecological situation. But everything in nature is not natural for us. Cows can eat grass all day long. They can eat hay. But we can't eat hay all day long. But eating hay is natural for the cow. A lot of things that animals can do, we as humans cannot do. So we must use our reason and our logic to extract from nature what is beneficial for us. Because everything that is natural is not necessarily advantageous. Let me say that again. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's advantageous. That doesn't mean that it is beneficial to us because it is found in nature. Some animals can eat poisonous plants and poisonous vegetables that are poisonous to human beings. If we eat them, we'll die. But they are natural and they are found in nature. Everything found in nature is not natural for us. It's not advantageous for us. It's not particularly good for us. So we have to be careful to say homosexuality is found in nature. On the same level, we speak against marijuana. Some speak against smoking weed because they said, it's not natural to smoke a plant, to smoke marijuana. But the roster will tell you that the marijuana is found in nature. But every plant found in nature is not smokable. You can't smoke nightshade. A lot of plants are poisonous. You can't eat poison ivy, smoke poison ivy. Everything in nature is not natural, and everything in nature is not natural for us, and everything that is natural is not necessarily advantageous for us to do. It's not necessarily going to benefit us in any particular way. So I had to challenge that. A lot of these homosexual situations among animals are very isolated and questionable. Very questionable. Not enough to run off of and say, okay, homosexuality is natural. It doesn't occur enough for me in nature to say that it is natural. Of the millions of species, there's only a handful of situations where we can find homosexuality among animals that reproduce with the opposite sex, meaning that they are not asexual. There's too few. It's not a commonly occurring thing. This is a fact. The last piece, and it's basically a reiteration. We must extract from nature because nature is very dynamic and it offers a plethora of opportunities and of things that we can do, of examples. It's so dynamic. Nature is just so infinite that we must be wise in what we extract from nature. You can't just take anything from nature, and anything that animals do, we go and do it. That's why we were given reason and logic, so that we can extract from nature as scientists what would be advantageous for us as human beings, so that we can do that which is most appropriate and most beneficial to us for our longevity. Last example, incest in nature. Incest exists in nature. A male dog will impregnate its mother. Many male animals will impregnate their own mothers. But that litter will come out not genetically mutated or retarded, but it will come out looking just like the parent. It will come out healthy. Although incest existed. When human beings participate in incest, there's a likelihood that the offspring will be retarded or will have some type of deformity. Why is that? Because even though certain animals do it, and it can be found in nature, and it's natural for the animal, it's not natural for us because we are built differently. Our offspring is not going to come out right. Based on incest, it's a probability that it will not come out right. There's a higher probability that incest among animals will not breed deformity. This is a fact. In nature, animals of different species can copulate and have healthy offsprings. They can mix. Humans can mainly only sleep with humans to have healthy offspring, to have any offspring. We don't have as many options of species types to reproduce with as certain animals do. I'm just going in. But I just wanted to touch on it a little bit. I didn't want to make this too long. What's natural, what's found in nature is not necessarily natural for us. And it's definitely not necessarily advantageous or beneficial to us in any way. And sometimes, just because it's found in nature and we do it, it could be hazardous to us. That's why people are vegans and don't eat meat or don't eat certain things that are in nature, certain diets we don't live off of, because we know just because animals do it, we aren't able to do it. A gorilla can sit around and eat bananas all day and grow super strong. We need more things in our diets than bananas. We don't process sugar the same way that the gorilla does. Just because you find homosexuality in nature don't mean it's natural. And if you can argue that it is natural because it has occurred in nature, even though you don't necessarily know the origin of why it occurred, it still may not be advantageous to us, as though many things in nature is not advantageous to human beings. So we must use sound right reasoning. Black supremacy.